inspiring address. Next, I invite our guest speaker for the inaugural address, Dr. Jagjit Singh Dhuri. He's the president of Joint Association of Colleges Punjab, which is one of the leading educational bodies that comprise of 13 different associations of Punjab with more than 6,500 institutes under its purview. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. On behalf of a Joint Association of Colleges, JAC, and on behalf of Federation of Private Schools and Associations, I, Dr. Jagjit Singh, extend my warmest greeting and kindest regards to you all. I personally feel blissful and fortunate to be the president of these caring and competent associations which make a difference. We believe that an organization should be led by a set of shared beliefs, and we are therefore very proud of these relationships which we share with our member associations. JAC comprises of 13 different associations of more than 1600 unaided colleges and universities of Punjab and Federation of Private Schools having 6,500 member schools all over from all districts of Punjab. Our mission and vision are to uplift our members within the center of learning and reach the unreached and recognize the unrecognized. We have created a collaboration environment where therein all members are passionate. I say this because I have the conviction that passion like courage is transferable. So as a major objective of mine is to transfer some of my passion. I am very thankful to team of iGaze, which is an independent private sector brand that specializes in rating colleges, universities, and schools. I am very thankful to Chandigarh University and Chitkara University to co-host this event on behalf of JAC. Especially thank to Sardar Satnam Singh Sandhu, Chief Patron of JAC, to provide us a wonderful chance to be a part of this digital conference on benchmark internationally implement locally. I hope that universities, colleges, and schools of Punjab will be benefited by this session. On behalf of JAC and FAB, I welcome team of iGaze for enriching us through this conference. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for sharing your valuable thoughts with us. We'll move on to our next guest speaker, Dr. Gurmeet Singh Dhaliwal, for the inaugural address. He's a recipient of the prestigious Bharat Jyoti Award. He's the chairman of Baba Farid Group of Institutions, Batinda, and of Joint Association of Colleges, Punjab. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Astrid. A very good morning to all the participants of this conference. It is a matter of privilege and pride for me to be present here today to express my views related to arena of education in the august presence of eminent educationists from worldwide. We have connected here because all of us realize that education is central to the well-being of a society, a nation, and the world as a whole too. India has a rich history of having par excellence institutions of higher education from ancient times like Takshila, Vikramshila, and Nalanda. In this direction, we have established some of the institutions of national eminence like IITs, IIMs, and later on we established R.I.S.E, NIPER, NITER, etc. Over the time, we have seen a major contribution by the self-financed institutions and universities. Accordingly, the institutions shall strive hard to attain excellence in every domain and to cater very well to the end user. Earlier, we were imparting quality education, and now we have to attain excellence. Excellence in infrastructure, faculty, innovations, research, and in teacher training, etc. Seeing on which we may define RISE, the theme of today's conference, as a guiding factor to achieve excellence, where R stands for research, I stands for innovation, S stands for stewardship, and E stands for entrepreneurship. Research is the backbone of every higher educational institution. The research is to see what everybody else has seen and to think what nobody else has thought. A strong research segment will make India a tech power rather than technology power. Higher educational institutions must identify the emerging research areas. Innovation shall not be the property of shining minds only. In the words of Dr. Kalam, best brains of the nations can be found on the last benches of the classrooms. Accordingly, we should provide an environment to the students where they can discuss and demonstrate out of the box ideas. Coming on the stewardship, the effective governance and leadership enables the creation of a culture to achieve excellence in higher education institutions. All the world-class institutions globally have one thing in common: the existence of strong self-governance. Entrepreneurship should be the outcome of research and innovation. The institutional excellence shall depend on the factor that how many job providers we have generated, rather than creating a crowd of job seekers. Innovation should be followed by technology to the intellectual property, and finally, deliver positively to the society through startups. To conclude my thoughts for the day, I would like to quote the words of Simon Sinek. What good is an idea if it remains an idea? So try, experiment, iterate, fail, and try again, and at last, change the world. Thanks, and have a nice day.
Thank you, sir, for the inspiring address. And now I invite Professor Dr. Harivansh Chaturvedi for the final inaugural address. Dr. Harivansh Chaturvedi is the director of BIMTech Greater Noida and also the alternate president of EPSI. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Aishwarya. On behalf of Education Promotion Society for India and on my personal behalf, I compliment the organizers, Sardar Satnam Singh Ji Sandhu, Chancellor, Chandigarh University, Dr. Madhu Chitkara, Pro-Chancellor, Chitkara University, and Dr. Ashwin Fernandez, QS IGAUGE, for organizing this webinar on redefining grading index of schools for 2019-20, Punjab was ranked number 1 by securing 929 out of 1000. It was followed by Tamil Nadu and Kerala. It means secondary schools from Punjab are doing good work, and the young students joining higher education in Punjab demonstrate quality. Number 2, the economy of Punjab has always been doing good, and per capita income has been highest in the country. Number 3, society and the culture of Punjab is characterized by valor, sacrifice, plurality, harmony, and mobility. You can find people from Punjab living and working in all parts of the world. Number 4, NEP 2020 will accelerate healthy competition among 1,043 universities and 54,000 colleges of the country, which will be based on NIRF and accreditation. Friends, in the current context, COVID-19 is the biggest reason for creating turbulence in higher education worldwide. There has been a discerning pattern among universities and colleges to rapidly shift towards online teaching and learning last year in March, April 2020, and they gradually shift towards hybrid learning or blended learning. Whatever Harvard Business School has done in March 2020, Indian higher education institutions have also followed the same. Progressive universities like Chandigarh University or Chitkara University or many others institutions and universities from Punjab must have done the same strategic and rapid shifts towards online learning, drastic reduction in hostel rents, sudden spurt in infrastructural expenses, particularly in IT, health, and safety. But again, a question arises whether there were no problems and challenges being faced by colleges and universities before 2020. Higher education is always dependent on growth factor in the economy. Post 1991, when the country launched the process of liberalization, economic growth has accelerated fast and exponential growth of higher education in India. With the global meltdown of 2008, we have seen gradually slowing down in the fast growth of higher education in India. 2010 onwards, we have witnessed the sudden upsurge of disruptive technologies like AI, IoT, robotics, blockchain, deep learning, machine learning, etc. Collectively, these challenges have given birth to a fourth industrial revolution or Industry 4.0. World Economic Forum has predicted that this will be the biggest change in the economy, society, industry, human life, and also in education. Industry 4.0 has resulted into massive gains for big and high-tech industries, but decreased number of white-collar and blue-collar jobs. It is predicted that new kinds of jobs will emerge in big number. Kindly allow me to talk a little about what is excellence in higher education. Excellence in the context of the higher education means that individual institutions, colleges, and universities are ensuring personal transformation of students and long-term benefits of the whole educational process accruing to the society. We are living in a knowledge society. Now only those countries prosper where there is excellence in education. So for India, it is very important how to take entry into community of nations which are knowledge based. Hence, excellence is outcome of a long-term leadership vision to strive for quality consistently. In higher education, quality is measured by using league tables, ranking, benchmarking, and accreditation. Excellence is a journey, not destination. It cannot be achieved in a hurried fashion. Let me give example of Stanford Universities. Established in 1885, currently it has around 20,000 students. 30 Nobel laureates are teaching in Stanford University. Between 1930 and 2020, more than 40,000 companies have come out from Stanford, and the combined turnover of those companies currently is US dollar 2.7 trillion dollar, which is almost equal to the GDP of India. Excellence is a journey, not destination. Stanford has taken more than 100 years, but we can shorten this process because some of the premier universities of Southeast Asia in Singapore and Hong Kong, they have developed themselves within 30 to 50 years and become the center for excellence. These universities are changing the goalpost in course of time. Most of the Ivy League universities in the world have continued with culture of excellence for centuries. That is why the whole world looks towards them. One can ask me what is the recipe for formulating a robust strategy for a college or a university to pursue excellence. I can give you 11 mantras. Number one, you should have a visionary leadership. This is utmost necessary. Without it, nothing will happen. Your college or university should be a learning organization. There should be always a focus on the future. You should be future-oriented university or colleges. You should value your faculty, staff, and other stakeholders. You cannot ignore the local community. You cannot ignore the regional economy. Number five, you should be always pursuing innovation and entrepreneurship in pedagogy, in curriculum planning, etc. Number six, you should never ignore students' engagement and experiences. Millennium generation will expect that whatever comforts and whatever facilities they are getting at their home, they would like to have same kind of facilities in campuses. Every university and college has a social responsibility. Whatever happens in the society, or there are suffering, there are natural disasters, there are pandemic like COVID-19, every university and college has to help the poor people and lend its support to the suffering humanity. During the crisis period, you need agility, resilience, and sustainability. And in future, pandemics and disasters will continue to come. Global warming creates so many problems for the humanity. Only agility, resilience, and sustainability will your protecting wall. There should be a focus on performance and value creation. Performance to be demonstrated by faculty, staff, and other workers. Value creation to be created by the whole institution. Then you have to follow the system approach in managing your organization, because every university or college is like a human body. When you have a problem in one part, you have to diagnose it in totality. Partial solution will not work. Lastly, find out on which parameter of excellence, there are so many, you can establish your distinctiveness. You have to search for your unique selling proposition, USP. You have to find your distinct identity in the clutter of institutions across the country and all over the world. These niches can be teaching, research, employability, students' experiences, etc. Last question is how to promote internationalization of higher education in Punjab. Some progressive and enterprising universities have already shown the way how to do it. But there will be a need to work on brand Punjab as an educational destination. As the chief guest, Mr. Tejveer Singh, has said, that let us aggregate our efforts. Let us have a collective vision, because few institutions cannot improve or cannot achieve excellence for the whole Punjab institutions. I propose a marketing tour of leading universities and colleges should be organized to visit countries from where students can be enrolled in large number. Let there be a common branding, a common slogan or catchword. Come to India, study at Punjab. Come to India, study at Punjab. EPSI can help all of you in this regard. The US is earning $45 billion and Australia is earning $30 billion US annually. Rupees term, it is more than 500,000 crores. They are earning from mostly Indian and Chinese students. Of course, there are students coming from other parts of the South globe. There is a challenge to universities and colleges from Punjab whether they can grab a slice from this fat cake. With these words, I conclude here, and I wish that today's conference should be very successful. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for sharing your insights with us. It's now time for an interesting keynote address by our guest, Professor Dr. Heike Schierenberg. Professor Heike is a professor of business administration at University of Applied Sciences, Osnabrück in Germany. She'll share some of the key inspiring insights on women in leadership championing excellence and promoting quality. We welcome you, ma'am.
Good morning to all participants from my home office in Germany. And thank you very much for inviting me to this conference, even if this is very early in the morning for me. As a professor for HRM and change management at the University of Applied Science in Osnabrück, I focus on change management, careers, and talent management. In the last 10 years, I especially looked on female careers, and I also love to teach and to collaborate internationally. The workshops and research projects together with my colleagues at Chitkara University, which is one of our important partner universities, were always a highlight. And I hope that we overcome this pandemic situation very, very soon. So traveling and meeting face to face should be possible again. When I started my research about women and leadership and female careers, I was convinced that gender equality and more women in leadership are important topics for women. And that's still true, of course. But what I underestimated was the meaning of female participation in the labor market for the progress of societies and the economic impact. And I also underestimated the important role of universities, professors, and also accreditation processes and quality management for these important changes. Dr. Madhu Chitkara just mentioned it in her welcome address. It's all about making an impact to solve real problems in society. So, what do I address today? I start with the bigger picture. Why is this topic important for the society as a whole and economic development? And then I focus on higher education and our role as professors. I would an example of teaching and research each to show how we can support women to use their potential. In the last 10 years, research showed that women can be powerful drivers of economic growth. The study Empowering the Third Billion, and the third billion, these are women who entered in the labor market the last decade, found evidence that raising female employment to male levels could have a direct impact on GDP. And women tend to invest more likely than men a large proportion of their income in the education of children, which improves their social status, financial situation, and also benefits the society. So you see, for example, Mrs. Anstey, who said gender equality is good in and of itself, and it is smart economics. So it's not only for the women. We all know that women's economic and professional empowerment is a complex issue. So if you see here number 1 on this chart, then of course we all know women's traditional role of caregiver in the family is not so easy to share, to change, and so on. So there are no easy solutions, and development takes time. But we have to start somewhere to make the world a better place. And as we are here in the world of higher education, let's look on the opportunities. So what can we do to make a difference? 3 dimensions are important here. The first, of course, is teaching on a high level of excellence. Equipping young men with valuable competencies and career capital is not only a fundamental issue. It is, for our students, the essential entry ticket for good jobs. But there is more. In my research projects, I learned that role models are important to show that women in leadership are a valuable signal at universities as well as in business. I especially appreciate here the important role of Madame Chitkara as pro-chancellor and inspiring mentor for female talent. And acting as mentors for female students encourages them to believe in their own role in themselves and setting goals. As professors at universities, we also can use our courses and discuss the topics like gender stereotypes, for example, in marketing. So many ads disparage women and makes them, us, look inferior. I show you an example of Europe. The ad on the chart is from the 70s in Germany, and you see a helpless, confused woman, obviously overwhelmed with the challenge to drive a car. You may say, okay, that's history. But to be honest, no. Until today, we find examples in nearly every culture of similar things. Let's come to research and to our role as scientists and leaders in higher education. How can we use research projects and publications to understand the hurdles for women in business, shed light on blind spots, and support changes in the society? And we can build up necessary structures for quality improvement. For example, we can integrate the topic of women in leadership in our quality standards and give a strong signal that universities are institutions that benefit the society as a whole. Accreditations and quality management can play a valuable role to develop criteria and measure the impact of higher education for the progress of women empowerment. I would like to give you an example of teaching. With we, I include Professor Böhmer from Osnabrück. You can see her in the picture below together with Hakiran Kaur and me. The picture is from 2018. And it's also Professor Santia Sharma, the Dean of the Business School at Chitkara University, and myself. We organized several 4-day workshops, Female Leadership, together with German and Indian students at Chitkara University in Chandigarh. So we traveled with around 15 to 20 students from Germany to India. You see a few pictures about 2018 on the chart here. So what did we do in such a workshop? To put it in a nutshell, we used first short lectures, including videos to explain and discuss the topics. You see here a typical gender stereotype. Women take care, men take charge. And in intercultural group work and experiments, the participants reflected their own values, their blind spots, and also their expectations for the future. We got very open discussions. You see 2 statements on the chart which show that often ambitions and working of females are judged negatively. And what the participants were a little bit surprised of were that with all the differences in Germany and India, many aspects were not so different and there were more similarities than expected. And a very important thing, we had an additional special highlight. Each day, we had a successful Indian female manager as a guest in our workshop. And they shared their experiences and also challenged our students. For example, one manager asked the group, "So, raise your hand. Who of you girls is ready to work full-time after studying and be the main breadwinner for your family?" You can imagine we had very inspiring discussions. I highly appreciate that the Dean of the Business School, Professor Santia Sharma, helped us so much to invite these fabulous women. I am sure he pulled every string and used his valuable contacts. Let's switch to research. The backbone of our doing, what Dr. Gurmeet Singh Dhaliwal just mentioned. We used the time in India to interview Indian managers about their career, their decisions, their successes and hardships. So these impressive managers not only enriched our workshop, they also took part in our research took the time and told us their stories. We learned a lot about the challenges they have mastered, and we were highly impressed. If you are interested in the whole research and all the details of the workshop, you find the references on the last chart. You see some examples. A female trainee is nothing. Your boss thinks you quit after marriage, so you have to work very hard. Or, so it's all about how you take up those challenges. Or, I think that inherent rebel which was caged, I think I broke open the cage. Hearing that these managers had to act like rebels to break the cage led to the conclusion, we have to make careers easier for the next generation of women. And next to teaching and research, we should always look for our quality standards and build up supporting structures. You see some aspects on the chart here. And we just heard also from Madame Chitkara about mentorship. I would fully support this. And of course, making an impact. This is the important thing. So you see some references. And thank you very much for your attention. And I wish you a great conference and a great day with very inspiring ideas. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you, Professor Heike, for sharing your valuable thoughts and the wonderful presentation with us. So it's time for the much awaited panel discussion on the topic Benchmark Internationally, Implement Locally. I take this opportunity to welcome Dr. Archana Mantri, who will be moderating this session. Dr. Archana is the Vice Chancellor of Chitkara University. She holds a PhD in Electronics and Communication Engineering with 30 years of experience in academia and other research organizations. Also, she has been part of the 9-member committee constituted by Ministry of Education to draft the implementation document for the recent National Education Policy. Dr. Archana will introduce the panelists for the discussion shortly. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Aishwarya. Good afternoon, one and all present here. At the outset, thanks to QS IGAUGE for organizing R.I.S.E. In the last 2 years, more than ever before, the world of education has shrunk to the screens of our mobiles and laptops. The theory is online, the practical is online. The discussion is online, the collaborations are online. The conferences, the exhibitions, and even the handshakes are online. The documents and even the verification is now online. The online events are online, and the physical events are also online. The teaching is online, the learning is online. The question is, when the planning, strategy, and execution has changed the way it used to happen earlier, how can the benchmarking practices remain the same? Whether it is accreditation, ranking, quality circles, or any other practices. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the panel discussion on Benchmark Internationally, Implement Locally. We have an august panel here, drawn from varied backgrounds and from various geographic locations. We have representations from India, Australia, and United Kingdom. With the background just given, the question is, with the world moving at never seen before speed for online education, how is it going to affect quality parameters based on earlier face-to-face education system? My dear panelists, kindly ponder on this question. I'll repeat it. With the world moving at never seen before speed for online education, how is it going to affect quality parameters based on earlier face-to-face education systems? And as you ponder over the question, I'll move around the room and introduce the panelists one by one. The first one, can we have the introductory slide of Ms. Pawa? We have the first panelist as Ms. Ravneet Paha. Ms. Paha is currently the Deputy Vice President Global and CEO, South Asia, Deakin University, Australia, and President of Australia-India Business Council, Victoria. She has been bestowed with very many prestigious awards during her illustrious career, including being nominated in the top 10 women of Indian origin making difference in Australia. So kindly, Ms. Power, we want to hear from you on the very first question for this panel. Over to you, Ravi.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here, and I am absolutely very, very interested in hearing what my fellow panel members, have to say on this point. You've put up a very interesting point, Archana. What is going to happen to the quality of international education or education per se as we go into this new normal, this new world? The importance of international benchmarking now is a necessity, and where the challenges and expectations of stakeholders have to be measured on a global platform. In these times, countries around the globe are facing similar challenges and dealing with issues which are similar. The only difference may be the varying degree rather than the differences. Today's business world is vastly different to the one we experienced a few years ago, and education is at the helm of it. As a university, international university, with over 65,000 students, all studying online at the moment, it is a huge challenge to focus on quality and quality assurance. I think that we need to look at a different kind of a benchmarking in terms of how we create pedagogy, how we create systems, how we create focus around engaging with partner institutions and the student experience at large as well. Because I think at the end of the day, systems, procedures, accreditations, and the way we deliver education is going to be new. With enhanced disruptions across the globe and the growing penetration of technology in our lives, there is going to be a growing need for actively reviewing and benchmarking strategies, activities, and critical organizational aspects. Most recently, the COVID-19 pandemic has laid wide open the gaps in the educational system across the globe, an absolute need for benchmarking, revisiting quality accreditations, teaching and learning practices with best practices across the globe. It is about the impact, I think, Archana, that we create and the progress we support all stem from great ideas and develop together the systems and the processes which are innovative, which are based on new technologies and digital intervention. From an educator's perspective, the key objective for benchmarking is towards developing an environment where learners are able to harness the power of ideas to help transform the way we think, the way we act in a social, cultural, economic, and environmental well-being. There are most important to us at Deakin, for example, is an international focus and in curriculum development, in delivery models, and also in partnerships and engagement. It is very important to ensure that we retain the vibrant culture of education on a digital platform and ensure education and research across various parameters and partnerships and collaborate to live up to our social contract to drive the change in society we live in. So I really think that what needs to really happen is a rethink of strategy in terms of what is going to be the new normal and how are we going to ensure quality accreditations at benchmarking internationally, nationally, with processes and procedures which will help enhance the learner experience and help enhance institutions to deliver through use of technology and innovation. Thank you.
Thank you, Ravneet. That was so illustrious and that was so elaborative an answer to the question, and that was the perfect opening remark and answer to my question. The next panelist we have here is Dr. Apala Mazumdar. She is a professor of applied mathematics at the University of Strathclyde, United Kingdom. She is also a leading expert in the mathematics of liquid crystals and their applications in the industry. Apala's research has been recognized by 5 national prizes, the most recent prize being a Suffrage Science Award for Mathematics in 2020. Dr. Majumdar, your opinion on the question. Over to you.
So thank you for the introduction. So firstly, I think I would like to congratulate the organizers for this inspiring event. I think it's a fantastic initiative. So I was actually contacted by Professor Sharma from Chandigarh University. So we've been in touch about a faculty exchange